Burkina Faso has drawn global attention after reports emerged of thousands of women participating in community-led road construction projects across the country, an initiative widely associated with the development vision promoted under the current transitional leadership of Ibrahim Traore. While the scale and structure of these efforts vary by region, the underlying theme reflects a broader push toward self-reliance, civic mobilization, and grassroots participation in national development at a time when the country faces economic constraints, security challenges, and limited access to external financing. Burkina Faso is a landlocked West African nation with long-standing infrastructure gaps, particularly in rural and peri-urban areas. Poor road networks have historically constrained access to markets, healthcare, education, and public services. According to regional development data, a significant percentage of rural roads remain unpaved, making them vulnerable to seasonal damage and limiting year-round mobility. These infrastructure limitations have direct economic consequences, especially for agriculture, which employs a large share of the population and depends heavily on road access for transporting goods. Against this backdrop, community-based labor initiatives have played a role in Burkina Faso's development for decades. Known locally through various traditional and civic frameworks, collective labor has often been used to build schools, maintain wells, repair roads, and support local agriculture. What has changed in recent years is the visibility, scale, and symbolic framing of such efforts, particularly those involving women. Women in Burkina Faso have long been active contributors to both the formal and informal economy. They dominate certain agricultural value chains, local trade, food processing, and community organization. However, large-scale physical infrastructure work has traditionally been male-dominated. The increased participation of women in road construction activities therefore represents a notable shift in public perception and social norms, even when the work itself is organized at the community level. Reports indicate that these road projects are largely focused on feeder roads, neighborhood access routes, and rural connectors rather than major highways. Such roads, though smaller in scale, are critical for daily life. They connect farms to markets, villages to clinics, and communities to schools. Improvements in these areas can significantly reduce transportation costs, travel time, and post-harvest losses, while also improving safety and accessibility during the rainy season. The role of the state in these initiatives appears to be primarily coordinative and symbolic rather than purely financial. Local authorities, community leaders, and women's groups organize labor, tools, and materials, sometimes with limited state support such as gravel provision, basic equipment, or technical guidance. In many cases, participation is voluntary or semi-voluntary, framed as civic contribution rather than formal employment. The administration of Ibrahim Traore has emphasized themes of national dignity, self-determination, and internal mobilization in public messaging. Infrastructure development through local participation aligns with this broader narrative. Officials have repeatedly highlighted the importance of relying on domestic effort rather than external aid, especially in a context where security spending, economic sanctions, and regional instability have constrained public finances. It is important to note that these initiatives are not without debate. Supporters argue that community labor empowers citizens, reduces costs, builds ownership, and accelerates development in areas often neglected by large contractors. They point to historical precedents across Africa and beyond, where collective labor has supported nation-building during periods of limited resources. Critics, however, raise concerns about sustainability, labor rights, and the risk of romanticizing unpaid work, particularly when it involves women. Development economists caution that while community labor can supplement infrastructure delivery, it cannot fully replace professional engineering, long-term maintenance funding, or inclusive economic growth strategies. There are also questions about how voluntary participation is defined and whether social pressure may influence involvement in some communities. From a gender perspective, the participation of women in road construction carries both symbolic and practical implications. On one hand, it challenges traditional gender roles and highlights women's capacity to contribute to all aspects of national development. On the other hand, it raises concerns about additional labor burdens placed on women who already carry disproportionate responsibilities in household work, childcare, and informal economic activity. Despite these debates, the visibility of women working collectively on roads has resonated strongly within Burkina Faso and across parts of Africa. Images and reports circulating on social media have sparked discussions about leadership models, development pathways, and the role of citizens in nation building. For some observers, the initiatives symbolize resilience and unity in the face of adversity. For others, they reflect the difficult trade-offs faced by low-income countries navigating limited resources. Infrastructure remains a central challenge for Burkina Faso's economic future. The country's development plans consistently identify roads as a priority sector, essential for trade, food security, education access, and national integration. While large-scale projects require substantial capital investment, smaller community-driven interventions can offer immediate, localized benefits when properly managed. The broader context includes regional shifts in governance and development philosophy across parts of West Africa. Several countries have increasingly emphasized sovereignty, local control, and reduced dependence on traditional external partners. Within this environment, domestic mobilization initiatives, whether in agriculture, infrastructure, or public service delivery, carry both practical and symbolic weight. International development organizations have historically supported community-driven development as a complementary approach to state-led projects. When well-designed, such programs can improve accountability, tailor solutions to local needs, and foster social cohesion. However, best practices emphasize the importance of safeguards, technical standards, and recognition of labor contributions, especially when vulnerable groups are involved. In Burkina Faso's case, the long-term impact of women-led road construction efforts will depend on several factors: the durability of the roads built, the availability of maintenance resources, the inclusivity of participation, and the integration of these initiatives into broader national infrastructure strategies. Without proper maintenance, even newly improved roads can deteriorate rapidly, especially under harsh weather conditions. Economically, improved rural roads can generate multiplier effects. Better access to markets can increase farm incomes, reduce food prices, and stimulate local trade. Improved mobility can enhance access to education and healthcare, contributing to human capital development. These benefits, while incremental, accumulate over time and can play a role in poverty reduction. Politically, the initiatives contribute to the image of a leadership style centered on mobilization and visible action. For supporters of Ibrahim Traore, the projects reinforce a narrative of leadership that prioritizes national effort over external dependency. For critics, they raise questions about long-term governance, institutional capacity, and the balance between symbolism and structural reform. What remains clear is that the participation of thousands of women in infrastructure work has become a powerful symbol in Burkina Faso's current moment. It reflects a society grappling with constraints while seeking pathways forward using available means. Whether viewed as empowerment, necessity, or both, the phenomenon has sparked global attention and debate. As Burkina Faso continues to navigate security challenges, economic pressure, and development needs, the role of community mobilization, particularly involving women, will remain a topic of scrutiny. The success of such efforts will ultimately be measured not only by the roads built, but by whether they translate into lasting improvements in livelihoods, equity, and national resilience. If you care about real African stories and global impact, subscribe to this channel. Africa Press Room brings you informed, in-depth stories that matter. Stay connected, stay informed.